What you doing?
Oh, I'm going to rig a shopping cart today.
Okay. I'll be using this to watch your videos.
Well, who knew that there's a TV in that box? Well, at least she did. And she's going to use it to watch this video, this very video, that shopping cart that we just saw right there. I'm going to open a recent file here and show the shopping cart that was used, actually used, I think is that one, to make that video. And it's rigged already. So a while back, this is going to be the third video where I'm working with the shopping cart. In the previous two videos, if you haven't seen them, go see them. They're on my channel. I model the tubing frame, and then the other one I model the basket. The other objects that are part of the shopping cart are, I also model the wheels in those videos as well. But the other wire elements, they're modeled similar to the basket, but here they are in finished form, and they're also, they have a material on them assigned to them. I also went ahead and made the plastic portions here that protect, have the seat and the hand grip and the protectors. Altogether, it took me about 4 to 6 hours. I didn't keep track. Excuse me. 4 to 6 hours it took me to do the rest of the stuff, even though I thought it would take less. And that's just because I spent time also on the details. I have the bolts that hold the cage, the little welding seams that you see there, along with some brackets there and brackets over here and things like that, just to give it some realism. What I also did, and it's not going to be in the previous videos, but I should explain it right now really quick, is that I optimized the card itself to, basically I went through and I got rid of all the loops, both in the frame and in the cage wires and so on, that aren't necessary. These half ones here aren't necessary even, but I left them. But ultimately, the idea is get rid of all the vertices that are not necessary to make the geometry work. That's because the way I have this rigged up is with a armature. So if I go and I look and take the cart and I look at the settings, it has an armature that is manipulating this cart, and Blender gets pretty slow. Right now it's unsubdivided, the cart is unsubdivided, but once it gets subdivided, it gets pretty slow, and Blender gets slow in interpreting because it has to, recalc the subdivision every time it tries to, go from one frame to the next and so on. Excuse me. So, today I have a full rig, and that takes a while, a long time, and I'm going to leave it right now up to the viewers to ask for if they want to, and I've done some for the cars and so on. The stuff that I do here, I do it on my own. I'm not explaining that this is the way to do it. This is not, I always say this is not a tutorial. I'm sharing the stuff. If you can learn from it, fine. If not, click on to the next video that's a tutorial. There's plenty of them out there. So, yeah, in this case, this is how I used it. I created a rig. The rig has the armature. The armature moves the vertices through vertex groups and so on. In this video, I don't have to do that. I'm going to show what I did. And I did that because I can use this now as an asset in the animations, such as the one that you saw at the start of this video. When I posted a few weeks ago on Twitter, I have a Twitter now, by the way. It's Blender Pretender. It's at Blender Pretender 1. And let me see if this will take me to it. The wrong one. I hit the wrong keys all the time. So what you're seeing here is the video, the Twitter video that I posted a few weeks ago, in which the cart, it has just a plain metallic material, but it's already rigged, or ready to move in the constraints that it needs. When I did that, I had finished the cart at that time, and all I did was just parent objects. And I'm going to show that because it's just as valid. Thinking in hindsight, it works well there for the video that I'm showing there. And it could work in terms of the animation. It's just that the outliner, in some cases, it might just, if you ever, you have to be able to select those objects individually. The reason I set it up the way that I do have it right now is because it's basically when I'm animating, it's the one armature object that it gets selected when it's in the object mode, and in the pose mode, you can select the individual bones. But when I'm animating, I make the actual mesh for the cart, which is all one mesh right now. It's one object. All the meshes are in one object. I make it so that I can't select it. And I do that on purpose because then it's easier for me just to be manipulating the actual bones and stuff like that. So I'll leave it to the people to ask if they want to see how I did that. I've done other videos, very slow. It's a very long drawn process, for me, drawn out process. But for now, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to open a recent file that is, I just set it up for this video right now. Don't save. And what it is that same cart, but now I've just basically gotten rid of all the armature and left it in the condition where anybody that would have followed the 2 previous videos of mine would be able to continue from there. Meaning all the objects, when I was modeling them, I had left them separated objects. All these little rack objects here, they started off as a cube mesh at one point in time, and they became objects on their own. What they do have is a pivot point that's at the point where it's going to be rotating, that the objects are going to be rotating. So all of these, I'm going to go in solid view here for now, and here just show there the pivot points. Let me go and make sure that this is on. All right, and so for the purpose of just getting a video out there like the one I did for Twitter and showing, like rotate X, showing, simple demonstrations, this works just fine. It's a lot easier than creating the armature and doing vertex groups and then figuring which one goes with what bone and so on. And I'm going to see if I can do that, show the constraints that I put onto these so that they can work. This rack right here, so that this rack can work and rotate at the same time that I rotate this one. So right now none of that is done, and let me just go ahead and do it. All right, so for example, they all have, if you'll notice the little thingamajig here, if I were to go to its local, it's all also the same as the global, and I'm going to keep it that way. That could change with other objects if somebody's working on something else, just knowledge that you can extract and use in whatever object you're working on. But that could change, just be advised. So for now, all the local coordinates are the same as the global coordinates, and I'm keeping them that way. Now, what else do I got? So very simply, just for the sake of being able to make these work, this one also is rotate Z, is separate object, is a simple process of parenting the objects. Control P, parent the object. So for example, that one now will rotate, the wheel there will rotate based on its own axis, and this one, when you rotate it, it rotates the wheel as well. So no need for bones or anything like that. It's a very simple, very quick process. The wheel itself, then, I'm going to start locking all of these except for example, in this case is the X. And this is an easy way, for me, it's usually an easy way to put constraints. Otherwise, you have to go into the object constraint. I'm already there in this case, but you go into the constraints tab over here in the properties there, and then you would start adding constraints. That works. This works. It's a simplified form, but it's just like on a general term for, so you can get more precise with these constraints over here, but this pretty much works when it's simple. And so for me, I just keep it. In that case, I'm trying to get a Twitter video, let's say by the afternoon. By the way, today is, let me go to this, see if it works. Oh, it took a while to turn on, and I think that's what I did when I put the buttons there. I basically turned off. Let me see, is this my right hand? Yes, okay. I want to make sure that the video is not flipped. All right, so to show just some of the stuff there. All right. Let me see. Yeah, today is Saturday. Why did I do that? I went off a tangent. Today is Saturday. I have a hard time. Sometimes I look at the number and I get confused as to what month it actually. August 15th, and so I get confused. And I did that in one video previously. I think I said it was May or something like that. And it's just the way I've never been able to reconcile that my entire life. Just having numbers for months and so on. I have to go back and actually count them. Sad, isn't it? Anyways, today's August 15th. And it's Saturday. It's 11:30. Let's see how long it takes. I don't plan to put more than an hour into this. All right, so back to this. Poop, poop, and there. And so when I hit rotate, then because everything else is locked, that's the only thing that will turn. Rotate, everything else is locked, that's the only thing that will turn. Take now that one, Control P, object, and then that, now the little wheel, base or the wheel support there. I'm going to lock that in terms of object, scale, and I'm going to lock the other two except for the Z, so I can rotate that one. And I didn't do that for this one, so I'll go back and do that here, and then rotate that. So now that's done. Now since these are good, I'm going to take these, and there's the one object that is the actual basket and the frame and everything. That's the one big parent object. And notice that it has its point down here. It's a pivot point down here at the very origin, which is fine. So I'm going to take that one, and then go Control P, object. The same with this one, Control P, object. And every time I do that, then I can take this one and then start moving it and see that it follows, or grab and see that it follows as well. Let me get some more real estate here. Yeah, this outliner window, I hardly, I do use it, but I don't go to it a lot. So that's why I cover it up sometimes. And I'll just show some of the stuff that I'm working on. Show how I play with Blender. So this one, going back over here, lock these, and it's in the X that it doesn't. The same. Over here, so if you take those two, rotate X, or rather rotate, they'll rotate on the X. Take that one, and now this bracket that holds the wheels is welded onto the cart, so that's fine. Control P, object. So there, select that one, shift select that one, Control P, object. Now grab the basket, and there you go. Same with this one now. This one, if I go into the side view here, it will rotate off of that pivot point. I need to lock it as well in all these constraints and make it so that it only rotates on the X. There we go. And then this is when now I need more control. And so for me, what I'll do is I have it selected, and I'll go over here to the constraints and add a constraint, and I'll do a limit rotation. And no wonder it was rolled out this way, because it's easier to see. So let me see. Make sure maybe that format works out a little bit. I'll turn this off if I need to here. The numbers, the timestamp down there. Anyway, all right, so it's already locked. Now I'm going to give it a limit rotation. So I know that on its local axis, it's on the X, and for whatever reason, you have to do for transforms. You have to check, make sure that it's for transforms if you're going to be applying it to this right here. So rotate. Now, all I got to do is come in here visually. I did a grab instead of a rotate. Just put it here where it visually gets to where it kind of close to where it knocks with that. And look at the number 10.1 negative. That's a limit minimum 0, 0. I wonder why now it did not. Oh, there it is. It doesn't seem to be. It's a 0, 0. As soon as I put it, I was expecting that to come back down to its 0 point, and I mean, that's behavior that I'm not expecting. But anyways, the minimum is negative 10.1 there, and 0 because it's at its resting point there. So now it's working. So I can now rotate between where it knocks down there at the bottom or knocks at the top. All right, Alt R. And now I'll take it and parent it. Take that object. Okay. There it is, parented. Okay. Now, this is the one that gets a little harder, but it's not that hard. It's very simple, really. It's just, you got to think about it a little bit. All right, so this one is going to be rotating like this. So, same condition of locking its location and scale, and obviously the other axes, so that only rotates on the X. Because I kept it simple, they all have the same X-axis that way. All right, so here you add a constraint, the same as this one, but this one's going to have a little glitchy behavior. It's just the way it works. Copy limit rotation. There it is. So we already know that those axes are going to stay to 0. I'm using its local axis and then making sure it's forward transform, and then in the X, see, right now it's limiting. I'm going to undo that for a second and then go turn it up here. I'm only doing this to illustrate. I already know what the behavior is going to be, but I'm doing it to illustrate so that it's understood why I'm going to do what I'm going to do here in a minute. Okay, so that's negative 35. So I'm going to put the limit at negative 135. Enter. And then Alt R. Okay. Oh, okay. So obviously 135, it's rotating in the negative direction. In other words, if I rotate that way, let me go rotate it. Observe up here. It's positive that direction. So I'm really hoping to limit the rotation between a minimum of 135 and a maximum of what do you call it? A maximum of let's say if I went negative, let me do that. Alt R, and it won't let me, but if I were to try to illustrate that, get rid of that point. So it's either negative 135, the rotation here is telling me it's positive, versus here is telling me it's negative. And so this is where the problem is. Okay, so sometimes I have to think about it twice. That's where the problem is. In other words, if it starts right here at 0, when it gets to the 180, look at the numbers here. And you'll see it goes negative 180, or goes up to 180, and then it immediately jumps to the negative 180 and starts coming back negative. So I have resolved this problem previously with other ways that I'd have to go and think about and consider how I've done it. But both with drivers and so on, I've done it. Like, for example, the steering wheel condition on my car. I did that by adding other bones, by using bones or other objects, and copying rotations and so on, and just trying to find a clever way to get around this. But it basically has a limitation where the program gets fooled because it goes past the 180 point. I know that's confusing. I should have probably thought more through how I was going to explain it. But because of that, in other words, Alt-R, because I already know that there's going to be a problem when it goes past the 180 point, and I want to make this to be able to rotate all the way, I am going to rotate it then. Let's say, I'm going to just type it in 95 so that it's up here somewhere. And that will give me a, no, actually I want it less than 95. So I'm going to rotate it 80. About right there. So that will give me a range coming down to 80 this way, and a range if I were to rotate it this way. See, right now because its start is all the way over here, it still has a problem. But let me just go ahead and reset. If I go to Control S rather, no, the Control save, Control A, Control apply the rotation, makes that 0. So now if I were to rotate it down, it's going to be about negative 80. And if I were to rotate it this way, it's going to be about 140. But in neither condition does it get past the 180 one way or another. Therefore, my minimum and maximum is not going to exceed the bottom, the 180, negative 180, and at the top, the positive 180. And that's just a simple way to make sure, because my constraint works right here. And if it were to require that you need to go a couple of turns before it stops, I solve that. The way that I solve that for the steering wheel, I show it in one of the videos in which I do the rigging for the simple car that I modeled. And I'd have to go and look at that and remember that. But basically, I just used other objects and copied their rotations and then put constraints on those and so on. So I used whatever tool set I had to fix that. And so there's ways to work that. For me, the way to fix this, to work this, is to fix this is to do exactly what I just did, which is rotate it up here, and then I don't have to worry about it. I can put in the constraint here. Yeah, I know. I just went in a crazy way here, all over the place. But just consider that the limit rotation has a limitation. So I already know that the minimum down this way is negative 80, because that's what I rotated, which was a round number. And then the maximum there, now I'm going to just rotate it. To where it touches, does not have to clip necessarily, and it's 145, and then Alt-R, turn that on, and go 145. Now, it will behave accordingly. And you can rotate anywhere in between. Now the problem is that these have to get, these rack right here, and this seat rack right here, they pivot off of the wire elements that are on this rack. So what I'm going to do is select that one, snap the cursor to that selected object right there, go back into the side view here, select these objects right here, and then making sure that I'm off the 3D cursor, I'm going to rotate them, and I already know that I rotated them in 80 degrees. It's actually negative because of the view. I know that they have conflicting numbers between this point right here and this point over here, but when I'm doing the actual rotation, it's these points right here. So I'm going to go negative 80. So they are now where they should be, right? So for these, what I should do to make sure that they work well is Control A, the location, and Control A, rotation. The same for this one, Control A, location, Control A, rotation. I think I missed one there, the seat. There it is. So rotate X, and then just because I changed the view from the orthographic to this, now it's 80. It's just the behavior that you have to deal with. Now it's 80, poop, there, and then Control A, location, Control A. Oh, sorry, the location is not necessary. I got over, when I do the location, it brings the pivot point right over here. I don't need that. Control Z. Okay. All right. So let's do that again. Rotate X, 80, back to where it needs to. Now select all these three, and then go Control A, rotation. So meaning when I select it, it should be a 0, even though its pivot point should be over here. All right. Yeah, another little mistake on my part. Sorry about that. Okay, so now these are going to get the same kind of treatment as the wheels did now. So for example, that one, lock them, and it's only the X. That one, lock them as well. It's only the X. And that one, lock it as well. Only the X. Meaning, and right now because the pivot point is off the 3D cursor, I got to go back to the medium. So there, it'll rotate like that, and like that. Okay, and then this one rotates like that, and so it's all set, I think, all set to go. I think I already locked all of these. They're ready to go. Now all I gotta do is select all these three, and this one last, and then Control Parent the object. So now it will move them as needed, up and down like that. And this one will work the way it needs to. And then this one here will also work the way it needs to. And this one there. Okay, Control Save. So let's get into more specific constraints that are going to make this one follow or rotate when this one rotates. Very simply, it's just a copy. So it's rotation. When I do a rotation on this one, I want this one here to copy its rotation. Very simply. So what I'll do is I'll select that one, right click and say copy as new driver. Copy as new driver. And then for this one here, I'll select it here, and I'll right click and I'll go paste driver. So now when I rotate, this one will rotate the same by the same amount. So what I have to do now is select that one and go edit, open driver editor, which is fine. It'll open in my other window over here, but I want it here. Here, I'll select everything. Make sure that you have that on, because otherwise you'll get everything that's on your file. This is the selection thing. So then hit the period. Select everything, hit period. So it gives you a curve. And so what this curve, and I've gone over it in other videos, basically what this curve does is it has a value. In other words, you have the driver. The driver is this variable basically right here that comes in here. It's giving me the driver itself in its normal fashion. It just says average values of whatever variables are here. It's giving you whatever the value is over here. And if I were to then take this one, let me open another window just so I can show it here, and then go here, go to drivers, and here make sure that it filters out what I have selected. Select that one, hit period again, and hit N so I can see the stuff that I'm showing over here. And here we have the little drivers tab is what we were seeing in the window. And okay, so now we're seeing everything that we were seeing in the other driver editor. That way we don't have to go jump between windows. We can just select this. So as I select this, so if I take that one and rotate it just a tiny bit, this one already has a value. The expression, the variable expression over here, or whatever, or ties, it has a property. And basically, it's a property, single property. I would have gone with a transform channel, but like if I were to do it manually, it'll do a transform channel, but in this case, it's a property. It's just giving me 0.251, and it basically, it's the average of this singular value is this 0.251, which basically comes over here, gets interpreted 0.251, goes up. This curve here essentially just says, okay, the curve says linearly, if it ever got to 1, evaluate 1, whatever it is over here. So if I were to take the value here, I'm just going to eyeball it and rotate it till it's 1. I think it's in radians. That's why it's, where is it, degrees? But it's at half. So right now it's nearly at, or close to at half, 0.49. And it's evaluating. I'm trying to figure out why it's getting 0.49. And I'm seeing that it's evaluating a value of here, 50 and so on. So let me just select that one for a second. If ever there's a doubt, I can go to the F curves here and I can see, it's degrees. It's messing with degrees. It's giving me some values in degrees, and that's why. It seems to be up here somewhere, up there somewhere. But anyways, the relationship here is linear. Whatever value the expression or the property gives up here, and then whatever the average value between those ends up being calculated over here, it basically gets represented as a value coming out in this way. Here's what I want to do. I don't need to dwell too much on that one, really. What I'm going to do is on the side view here, rotate it to where it needs to rotate before it smacks into this other portion over here. And it's got to have room for this one as well. So I'm going to go, and they never fold perfectly. So I'm going to go about there. That's about 35. So on this one, I never added a constraint. So I'm going to add the constraint. Limit rotation back to where it had, and at 0 and 35. There. I'm not sure if it was observed right now. When I clicked that one, it was a 0, 0. It reset it back over here. It wasn't doing that. Kind of threw me off a little bit. Sometimes these kinds of things make you question, and since I'm recording, I have to question and wonder because it throws me for a loop. But when I'm working on it on my own, I just deal with it. All right, so at a 35, if I were to select that one now, I'm over here. The good thing is it's telling me here what it is, the value right here, what it is. I can always take this value right here and manipulate it. In other words, I can grab it and move it. And so like I just explained, so right now it went for a property versus a rotational. If I were to hit this and go to rotational or difference or a transform channel, there's other ways to do these, but the way it got set up right now, I'm just going to leave it as it is because it was simple to do. But now this one, I'm not confined to just using this curve. I can basically just drag it up. And that's what I'm doing right now. I'm just dragging it up. Grab Y. Until it appears to be where it needs to be, which would be right around right there. It's still linear. And if I were to rotate this, it's just turning in a linear fashion. If you were to get picky with this, picky, you'd notice that in some cases it clips. Other cases it doesn't. It very much clips right there. I can see these, that wire element clipping with all of the ones coming down this one. And let me shift H so it can be seen clearly and go into the wireframe. It can be seen more clearly here. If I put the cursor off to the side, it really needs to be, that circle there needs to be completely on this side, because it's what it actually pushes up on. So in order to get that to work, the simplest way that I found in order to get that to work is basically to manipulate the curve. Manipulate it. So I'm going to change this. This is not how I did it, by the way. I added more points in here, but it was more difficult. And I'm thinking right now, it got difficult and my video is already getting pretty long. It's at 35. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to see if I can simplify this. I'm going to change this to scripted expression. Rotation Euler is the variable that's in the scripted expression. And then here, I'm going to multiply it by 10. All I did is I took the value and I just threw it out there. Do I need to do that? I'm wondering. Yes, I do. What I did is that whatever value was coming out here, it basically pushed it out, way out there. It should have. Oh, there. See, there you see. It basically rotated all the way back down here. I hope that works. So what I'm going to do is just grab it. And it was by 10. The reason I went up by 10 is because even though you can manipulate these, it snaps on the horizontal axis to the frames. That's because I imagine it has to do with time, and the time basically is a function of the frames. The drivers, I mean. Drivers have to do with time. It's a function of the frames, so it's just the way the program works. You can fix that by going to the F-curve and then selecting, for example, that one right there. And even though it has a value, frame value, you can always take that one, and I'm holding Shift, and then you can move it very carefully in between the frames. You can do that. And it's just that you have to use this. You can't really grab it and move it here. I haven't found a way. If somebody knows a way, let me know in the comments. That'd be great. But what I'm going to do is just going to grab it in 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I can always type X and then grab it 9. So that the frame value right now should be 10. Now, let's see how that behaves. It's still a linear value, and the only problem is where it clips right here. And what I did is I know it's hard because these curves move around so crazy, but what I did is basically I flattened the curve. You know, everybody talks about flattening the curve. I flattened the curve in such a way that I can always take that. You see how that point right there? I can either take that point or this point. Right now, it's at this point right here. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to duplicate, take that point, go Shift D to duplicate it. So it's in between these two. I'm going to put it here. And I'm going to drag it up right around there. And now I'm going to take that one and then rotate it. Okay, and there, it's not wrong. It's not really clipping because it's still in between both of them. In other words, that's between this circle and in between this. It's clipping a little bit here, but probably not noticeable in any animation that would be rendered. But right now, it's around right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit V, free, grab that one, and then just rotate it. I'm going to rotate it down to about there. Because really, it's this one that's pushing against that one. And then see what it behaves like. Again, starts clipping. And I'll select this one over here. So now, it went down a little too much. I'm going to scale that one down. Right around there. There. And as long as it doesn't clip over here, that's as good as it gets. All right, now let's look at this in its entirety. Alt-H, take that one, rotate it. Let me go into the solid view, rotate. It just has to look right, that these aren't clipping. I know it's hard. Sometimes I go cross-eyed looking at this, but no, they're not clipping. And there. And that works. So that there will be no condition where that does not follow, you know, sliding up and down on that rack. So I'm good. Right now, this is done. In this case, now I can take that one here, that one. I could really parent it. I parented it to this one. I'm really thinking right now that I probably should have parented it to this one so that it will turn with this one. So let me do that. And when I did the bones, I did them a little differently. And if anybody ever wants to see a video of how you set it up with the armature, which is a little more involved, just let me know in the comments. But it follows the same process. In other words, even though I would have bones that have vertex groups that they're deforming, which the vertex groups would be these separate objects, the bones themselves would follow this exactly the same thing that I just did with the driver for that one. In other words, whatever bones deforming that rack right there would have the same driver similar to this one being driven by whatever bones deforming that rack right there. So what I've offered here is basically applicable either way. And I think it's a preference thing, whether somebody would want to have an asset like this versus an asset that has the actual, in this case, it's all a hard surface kind of thing, you know, so it's like, why would you want to have bones? Because the bones are more for squishy stuff, I think, I would imagine, but I want it because of the way that I'm working with my animations. All right. What I was going to do before I interrupted myself is take that one, rotate it back, take that one, Alt-P to clear the parent because it was parented to this bottom one here. I'm going to take that one and then Shift click that one and then Control-P, parent the object. Now, I went into the view. If I were to take it, put it back where it goes, and rotate this one, now the seat's going with it. All right. That's a very simple and easy solution. I don't have it like that set up. I can show the difference here in a minute as soon as I finish, because then this one already has all the constraints and everything. And we're done with the driver window, by the way. So Control Save. This one, I would give it a limit rotation as well. Boop, 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 boop. And then it was, I forgot what it was. But let me take that one, rotate it up. Or rather, take that one, rotate it to where we think it would be touching and clipping. There, that's fine, 92, and then 0 and 92. Alt-R. Okay, so there I can move these up, or I can have the seat move individually. The problem is that when I do that, because of the parent, if I take this one and rotate it, watch what happens. Boop, it's going to clip right through it. So if somebody can deal with that for the sake of getting something done, you know, and just finished, because nobody's going to really use this. Somebody may use a card over and over again, I don't know. But I wasn't, I was planning on making a couple of videos with the cards involved, but now that I've worked with it, I'm thinking to myself, It takes a while to render too. Maybe I don't want to. But yeah, so obviously this solution here, Alt-R, doesn't work. And the way that I fixed it was with a copy rotation constraint. So let me go over that one. And for that, I mean, I was looking to end it right now, but let me go. It's a hot day today. I want to open the doors. But no, let me just go a few minutes then and just explain why I probably had it, why I had it the way I had it just now and the way it's set up. So Control Save, File, Open. I'm going to do this also as a refresher for me. For me, shopping cart rig, no. Let me go File, Open Recent, and that would be that one. So the way I have it set up right now is that one. It's like a little bone where I can put it down, and then as I rotate, it goes up, and then I can have that bone put it up, and as I rotate, it no longer moves. It stays where it has to. And if I were to have it, for example, halfway, which will never be a condition, except that maybe you get that one cart that somebody's been slamming around so much that the parts hardly move or they squeak, which is that cart is squeaking in my video. And this flap doesn't want to just go all the way down for whatever reason. It has a little burr there that just doesn't let it come down. It also goes all the way up. And the way I did that, and as a refresher, is that this bone is a copy rotation, but then the influence is being manipulated by the rotation of the other one. Let me see if I can do that on the other case. So open recent, shopping cart rig. This is the one that we have so far. I'm going to take that one, Alt-R again. I'm going to take that one and Alt-P, clear the parent again, and then parent it back to this one, Control-P. I need to parent it like that so that then it'll rotate with this one. So back in this rotation location here, what I'm going to do is rotate it back to where it needs to be. There. I need that to be the resting position is what I need. Okay, so that's the way I solved it. So this has to be the resting position. Let me go back over here and get rid of that. And then here, I'm going to go Control A, rotation. So that's the resting position. And now, what it's going to do is it's going to copy, I'm going to copy the, I'm relearning this even though I've already done it once, because you just can't know every path, every way, you know, on instant recall, you know what I mean? So I'm going to go and add a copy rotation. What it's going to copy is barely select that one. I want to make sure that I got it. Shopping cart 04. That's what I've got. Shopping cart 04. So replace is fine, I think. And I'm going to copy its X rotation. And I'm going to go from local to local. Okay. So right now there's no rotation. Let me rotate some of it a little bit. All right. And what I want to do, let's see what happens if I invert it. All right, and that's because that doesn't work. Control Z. I think I had the wrong object selected right now when I went ahead and did the invert there. Okay, so that works. Let me take that one again. Reset it. actually, I'm thinking that I probably should have it like this then. Negative 92. I know I went a round number. Alt Control A, rotation. Okay. Now, this one, I shouldn't have erased it. I just, sometimes for me it's easier just to do like erase things that are going to be confusing later on. A copy rotation for this one. It'll be local to local. I'm not copying. It doesn't matter the other ones really. I'm just copying this one. Doesn't matter. I haven't checked because they're all locked. There. Control save. All right. Okay. So what I'm going to mess with is the influence. So I'm going to rotate it. So I'm going to go ahead and take this one. It has a copy rotation. I'm going to turn it off for now. And then rotate it 92, which is what it was. Now when I turn this on, there. Okay, so the influence will tell you, and I'm going to lock that. Alt R. Let me see, take that one. Oh yeah, that is its reset rotation. So here's where we are. When it has no influence, it's on its up, on this, on the upside. When it has influence, it will rotate all the way up. So what I want is I want this one to be able to manipulate the influence. To be whether it flaps, like for example, halfways. It still works fine. So what I can do for this very simply now is just shift snap the cursor to the selected and add a empty. I'm just going to add a sphere for the sake of scale it and put it right there. Lock it, and that sphere only turns. Excuse me, I had to cough. And that only turns in the X rotation there also. And what I'm going to do is take that as a driver. So it'll be copy as new driver, take that one, go in here, and then paste driver. All right. Not quite where it needs to be, but so what I'm going to do is take that one, or rather, we're not done with the window. Take it and open it. Go to the driver window. There it is. There's the driver right here. So very simply, select it, go to the drivers. Again, it automatically did this kind of stuff, but it's generating this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go period, make sure there's a bounding box pivot point, and then scale in the Y. -1. So I've inverted it. There. Now, if this empty or this object, because I can make an object that's just a wireframe as well as a widget or whatever. If it were the shape of the seat, then I could make an effort to try to make that shape of the seat to follow as it goes up and down. But I'm not. I'm just going to Alt-R and then rotate it slightly until it seems to get there. And then there, 52. To this very empty, I'm going to add a limit rotation. Limit the X, what was it again? 58.2. There. Now it seems to follow somewhat. And if I were to leave it there, and take the seat and close it. Okay. And I think that pretty much does it. Wrong one. Rotate. That's part of the reason why I kind of like to have the armature with its little bones, because you have layers that you can turn off as well for the bones that you're going to touch. Right now, I was having trouble selecting what object I was going to rotate. So right now, this is animatable. You know, you can have Control Save. You can actually make an animation now off of this. Another word. Let me save it. It's all good, I think. Oh, I forgot one last thing. Take that one to that one. Control P, object. Grab. So let's Control Save this. Shift C to add that. Shift add a mesh, a plane. Scale it up. Okay, so we have something. Take that. Let's see how it works. So normally now I would start bringing in using collections. In other words, making instances of collections and so on. Right now, and now this is now looking at all the stuff. So what I have is a shopping cart and everything else that's parented to it and all that. It's underneath the shopping cart. The plane itself, I didn't do the empty. The empty itself is not parented to the cart. Control P, object. There, now it's parented to itself. And now you can see I have the plane, that's the surface that I'm going to animate on top of right now. And then there's a shopping cart with all of the stuff underneath. And I'm going to hide it. For the sake of doing this fast, I'm going to select everything. And see how it works. If I were to select everything and duplicate it. I can see a relationship line here with something. I'm trying to figure out what it is. Should I ignore it? It seems both carts here have a relationship line to this, and I'm trying to figure out, it's a blue line. I'm not sure what both objects. See, there's two. So basically I did a duplicate of this whole thing, and I wouldn't do that normally. That's when you want to put it all into a collection, I think, and then shove them in as instances. But here, I'm just going to use it for the sake of demonstration. Alt-H. I have a plane on which they're going to roll. And very simply, grab this one over here. And I see the relationship line too between the card itself here. Excuse me. It's not really the card, I don't think. I'd have to experiment more. Here I have ignorance to blame. I can see it. It's this rack right here. Appears to have a relationship. It's not the rack there. It's this one right here. Let me go into the solid. Appears to be that one right there. Has a relationship that comes back to the center over here, which will be the unrotated location of this rack right here. So I may have done something wrong there, but like I said, if you just want to get the animation out, I think it's ready to go. Yeah, I don't know. Alt-H. There's nothing there that I can think of that's hidden. There's a potential that I may not have erased the other constraints and stuff because I worked off of a file that I already worked on. I don't know, but I'm not going to dwell on it too far. What I was going to do was just take this one and grab it, go to the animation tab over here, come up, make this the dope sheet editor. Yeah, dope sheet is fine for that object. Let's put it like that. Shift tilde, move it up like that. Hit the recorder there, make sure this stuff works. So grab it. I'm already at the start. Nope, I'm at frame 10. Grab it over a few. Make sure it starts at 1. There, starts at 1. And let's go over, yeah, well, let's stay at 10. And then grab it and shove it right in there. There we go. Seems to work. Nothing's clipping terribly. I go make sure I'm on that one right there. It all works. Now here, if I were to play it, here comes the cart, crashes into that one. Let me make sure that this works a little bit. Shift tilde. Maybe frame it like that. Okay. So it's going to crash and they're going to keep going to the next 20 frames. It's going to be these two. In other words, take that first card, hit I. Make sure you have a keying set. And I'm going to use location and rotation only, because I'm not really going to be scaling them. Control save. So here I'm going to hit I to hit select both of these, and then I'll just grab. Then I. What happened? What happened with this one? Didn't have one. Control Z. No, I don't have to. I'll take this one then. Just go up to that one. Take that one here and then just grab it and shove it in here. I thought I did. I probably had the other one selected. Make sure that this looks like it works fine. Nothing's really clipping. All right. And then the other one goes farther. I'll leave it like that. The other one goes farther. Okay. That's good enough. Now select the camera. Make sure that the camera is selectable. And where's my camera? That's because I have it on a second. That's because this stuff is off. That's why I can't select it here, but 1, Shift 2. There's the camera. Select it. So the camera already has a keyframe. I'm going to bring it to 10. And it goes to 20. And then just end right there. Control save. I'm mostly doing this just to test, make sure that this actually works, because I'm actually considering why didn't I just do this versus set up a whole armature. All right. Now, because of this, you can barely see what you're looking at with the highlighted. I can always go in here and turn off the outline. All right. So this rack portion right there obviously needs to have since we're going frame by frame, it doesn't matter. Rotate. That's good. I think I see a flaw in my design, and that they could fall. No, I won't fall. There, I got it. One, it'll be I. Next one over. Rotate. Next one over. All right. There. Now I'll take that one down there. Nope, I got it. There. I. Next one over. I got it. Rotate. Next one over. Rotate. On the side here. I'll just rotate all the way up. Nobody's gonna know. I will. So there, next one over. Next one over goes too much, so next one over I need to have that cart. Grab Y and push it back to there. And when it hits, I'm going to take that one, insert a keyframe, go one over, and then rotate it, and then one over and rotate it back. Control save. Let's see how it looks. Yeah, I think it was 20. Home and then play. Go to 30. I don't have to put it here to go to 30, but 30, enter, and there. Control save. Now, back to 1. What else is missing? It's these. So I'm going to put a keyframe right there. At 10. I'm going to rotate that much. Control tab to get in here. Home. And I think it's this one. Yep. It's going to be that one. Well, select everything. T linear. Alt A. Take that one. Here. Go into the solid view. And this is going to be a little difficult. When I do the bones, I give myself a little mark to show me how it's going around. Grab Y. Grab Y. Let's give it a bunch of turns. In truth, I cannot tell. I cannot tell that those are turning the right way other than if I give them a marker, which I'm not going to do that right now, but this one, I just want to get the value just to duplicate it, negative 91. Maybe too much. Maybe 91,000 degrees is too much. I'm going to go and say in that span of time it spun around 360 times, not even 10. I'm going to say 8 times. 360 times 8. Control Z, it's in the negative. Negative 360 times 8. There. Grab these. Grab Y. There's a way to snap this, I think, but I just don't know it right now. It's not coming to my mind. Let me see. Nearest flatten. Oh, let me see if I can do this. Snap the current nearest marker nearest second. Flatten handles current frame. No, I can't really snap it. Nope. Close enough. till they stop at 20. Duplicate in the X to 20. And then take that one and grab Y. And that one's just going to be eyeballing it. Now, when I do this, when I would put a marker that I can see as it's going around. Right now, I can't distinguish one side of the wheel from the other. That's why I can't tell how fast it's doing, but normally I'll use that to determine how fast that's going. There, I got them all. That's at 10 where it hits. And then move over to 20. Rotate X. That much. T linear. Where's the value on these? I'm gonna go, what, 3 turns? Let's just put it right there. Control save. Let's make it easy. Put it at 720. And I'll put it on my desktop. No, I'll put it on my files. Shopping cart. And rendered images. And I'll call it test rig. Accept, control save, control F12. See how long that takes. And since I have it set up so it doesn't show me the progress, I'm going to see it right here. So I'm going to pause it for a second and then just show the video once I'm done. All right, so it's done recording, or doing its thing. This is the animation right here. A little simple animation. There was a light. There's a light in the scene, obviously, or maybe it's an HDRI map or something like that. It's generating this on the plane that I put in there. But this is just to illustrate. So, I mean, this is a usable, animatable thing if it needed. Excuse me. If it needed to be done quickly, for the sake of just busting out an animation the way I just did right now. Anyway, thank you for watching. That's the simple, in loose quotes, I'm saying the quote-unquote rig for this shopping cart. Thank you for watching. Next video, I don't know. I plan to dedicate more time to doing more animating and putting more stuff out in terms of animating. But we'll see what comes next. Thank you for watching and goodbye.